Hi everyone, and welcome back to Waterhouse Forde. Well, this week we're going to do something a little bit different. At the end of last week's video we showed the design for the sleeve puller. So this is the tool that we're making to remove the sleeves from the block. This week what I'm going to show you is we've got a number of the parts already made, or at least partly made, and we're going to show you just basically finishing off some of them. So basically it's going to be a turning video rather than a tractor repair video, but of course it's related, it's all part of the same project. So I hope you enjoy. So here we have, I believe, all of the parts that we need to make our sleeve puller to pull the cylinder sleeves out of the engine block. There's a couple of things left to do. This part is the top, and it's complete. So it has a hole in the center for the threaded bar to slide through. One of these large nuts they're actually used for joining these bars together, but I'm using a long one, the large one, so that we've got maximum amount of contact on the threads, so that it doesn't strip out. I don't think it would anyway, but we're just playing it safe. So that will come down on the top, and as you turn that, it will obviously pull this up. That's the design. The plug, which is the bit that goes down the bottom and sits at the bottom of the sleeve, that's complete, except that I need to cut a small chamfer, or a small shoulder all around the outside to give it so that it'll fit just inside the sleeve. And obviously that will make sure that this is centered in the sleeve, or on the sleeve. I also need to thread that, so that needs to be tapped still, and the idea is that threaded bar will screw down in there, and we'll use an M16 nut to lock it in place on the top here. And again, that is I believe it's 2 inches wide, which means that it should give us, that's going to have plenty of thread to hold on to. So that's what needs to be done there. This is the base that's going to sit basically flush on the engine block, and the sleeve will slide up through the center here. So you can see we've drilled the holes, we've turned it to size, we've drilled the hole. We still need to cut out this centerpiece, and that's what we're going to be doing today. And then these holes need to be threaded, and that's a M10. And then I've made the first pillar, which will basically screw in there, and then obviously we need another 3 of those. Now you'll notice I've turned and threaded this side, but I haven't done the other side yet. What I want to do is make all of them, and then make sure that I get this measurement 100% correct, because basically from this face to that face has to be identical on all of them. Otherwise this top piece won't stand level on the 4 pillars. So I need to make sure that I get that measurement right, and I'm just a bit nervous about doing it until I've actually got all 4 of them made. So that's kind of where we are. So basically 3 jobs that need doing. We need to cut out the centerpiece, we need to cut the shoulder on here, and we need to make the other 3 of these, and then I think we're ready to, and then we need to tap these 4 and tap that hole, and then we're ready to go. So here we go. Now as we start, I need to make it absolutely clear that I'm an absolute beginner when it comes to metal turning. I have done a little bit of wood turning in the past, but I am not an expert at metal turning. So please don't take anything that I do as being the way to do things. I'm literally learning as I go. Now the problem I've got is that this plug is too large to fit into my chuck. My chuck won't go large enough to actually hold it. So what I've done, I had a friend of mine actually turn it, basically to true it up, so these two faces are true with the side, and also what he's done is he's drilled a hole for us here, which is the correct size, so I think it's 15.7 millimeters to take an M16 tap. And so the idea is, what I'm going to do is I want to tap that hole, and then I'm going to put some threaded bar in there and hold this in the chuck on the threaded bar. It's not ideal, and it may not be 100% true, but I think it's going to be good enough for us to be able to cut that shoulder. I'm hoping so anyway. Okay, so the idea now is to basically turn the part onto the tap and just keep the tailstock up against the part so that it keeps it true, as in 90 degrees. And once it starts going, it should true itself, which it seems to be doing. We don't need the tailstock anymore. We're almost there now. Although we do have to go quite a bit further, because obviously there's a tapered tap, and obviously we need the thread to be all the way through. So I can actually feel that stopped cutting now, so we know that that thread is now all the way through. Now we can turn that tap all the way out. There we go. And now we've got a lovely thread in there. I'm going to run the stage 2 tap up. And there we go. So now we should be able to put a threaded rod through there and mount it in the truck. Now, in order to prevent this from turning, so basically I want to stop this from turning so that I can tighten that lock nut at the back. Best way I can think of to do that is to create a, now I can't remember what this is called, I think it's called a fulcrum, it's a fulcrum clamp I think it's called. And the idea is to get a okay, so that's obviously quite reasonably tight. Now the belt is reasonably tight around this, but as I begin to put pressure on it, let's try that. So as I push it, you see it's tightening the belt, and you get to the point where that belt will never slip because of the pressure that's been pushed down through the belt. Okay, that nut is now tight, and hopefully tight enough. So visually, that seems to be running true. I mean, obviously, as good as your eye can tell. So here's our spec sheet. Come a little bit closer, if we try and keep it in the frame. So what we're looking for, and what we're doing today, is cutting this step here. So we're going to double check and make sure that this is 92 across, it should be. And then the inside needs to be 84. These dimensions are approximate, it doesn't matter really what they are, other than obviously we want this to be reasonably substantial so that it lines up inside the sleeve quite well. I've suggested 5. I think I might go, given our experience with the valve guards, what I might do is make that a little steeper, a little bigger, so maybe go to 10. Okay, so you can see we're literally just about there now. And again, this is the outside diameter of the sleeve. So what we really want is to be literally probably 1 or 2 thousandths smaller than that. We're going to take it to that to start with, and then we'll just take 1,000th or 2 off of that again. So hopefully this will be the last cut. Right, that's just about there. So we're going to take a few more, couple of millimeters off there. Okay, I've just gone and reset the caliper on the old sleeve, just to make sure. And so we can see we've got about 1 millimeter, maybe 1.5 millimeters of play there. Right, so that's the outside measurement. The inside measurement I've got on this caliper, and we can see that's kind of what we're aiming for there. See it from the other angle. Hopefully you can see there, that's kind of what we're looking for. Okay, that looks like it's there or thereabouts. I'm going to go and get a sleeve and see if it'll actually slide over there now. That'll be one of the new ones, of course. So here we have one of the new sleeves. Let's see if that'll actually slide over there. Perfectly. You can see that that sleeve slides on perfectly, and hopefully you can see it on the camera, but basically that is ever so slightly smaller than this here. Let me find a straight edge. So yeah, let me have a look. I think you can see that gap there, and what that means is that that will push that sleeve out without getting caught up. Right, so the final thing we want to do now is just square up this shoulder so that, because at the moment it's basically a chamfer, which is basically going to try and spread the sleeve open, which is, we definitely don't want that to happen. So we need to make it literally a 90-degree angle. So we're going to try and do that now. Right, I think that's good. I'm going to call that good anyway. So the only other thing I'm going to do now is put a little chamfer on here so that it helps guard that in when we're putting it in or guarding it into the sleeve. There we go. There we go. So there you can see, hopefully, the final finish. So now I'm going to move on to setting up this disc so that we can cut out the center. Now on this one, luckily, this came with a recess on the back which allows us to mount it in that small chuck. By putting the jaws in the middle here and opening them, it basically does that, and that locks it. But the issue that we've got is that when we start cutting this out, then basically that is going to be in the chuck and this isn't. So what we're going to do is we're actually going to mount this onto the other plate. The other plate will be in the chuck. So we're going to use bolts to mount this in. And then that'll allow us to cut through this one. We'll have a spacer between them. So the other one will be there. And that'll allow us to cut this one without it actually being in the chuck. Okay, so what I've done now is basically bolted these two discs together, and the idea is that this side will be clamped in the chuck and this side is the side that we need to cut the middle out, so we're going to do that now. Right, so in the end I used a internal threading tool. You can see that there, and that did the job very, very well. So there we are. That's now 112. See, the caliper just fits inside there perfectly. So yeah, I'm just going to face this face off, just clean that up basically, and then that ring is done. Have a look at this pile of waste. That's a lot of waste. Right, let's just quickly face this off. Well, sadly, I lost a whole bunch of footage. The camera memory card filled up, and I wasn't able to film the last little bit here. Anyway, listen, that's it for this week. Thanks for watching. Next week we just need to make the 3 pillars and then finish off the end for each of them. Hope that you've enjoyed this, and we look forward to seeing you on the next video. Cheers for now.